Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Stefan.
Remember Fresh Air?
Yeah.
I thought you meant like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for a second.
No.
Just Melbourne.
No,
just Melbourne air being clean.
Just the concept
nice.
of oxygen, remember it? I miss it.
Yeah.
We had a good couple of weeks, and then they took it away again.
Yeah, because we had a good couple of weeks, I didn't bring my asthma puff.
Yeah, and now Ben's dead.
Oh.
Animating
on
in Threes.
You know...
Anyway, we are an animation podcast where three guys talk about an animated film or show from an animator's perspective. And this week we are going to be talking about the 1998 Pixar film A Bug's Life. And before we get into that, we're going to be talking about animation news. And if you want to skip to any section, just go to the description below to look at the time codes. Okay, so animation news. I can't be bothered editing, so I'm just going to add those effects in microphone.
We're going to do all the mic feedback sounds ourselves.
Yep.
Even that loud one when it just goes back, when it feeds back to you. Animating in threes. Yeah! That's what mics sound like, right?
Yep, totally, 100%.
That just sounds like the Screaming Bird again.
Okay, so...
For people who haven't seen the Screaming Bird podcast, that's...
Wait, there's a Screaming Bird podcast?
Well, there's a previous podcast when we have mentioned the Screaming Bird.
No,
It sits
there's a whole
outside Stefan.
podcast where Michael just screams into the microphone. It's great.
Send us a comment if you want that to replace this podcast.
So the first piece of animation news. Netflix is going to revive One Piece as a live-action series.
Next
Ugh.
animation news.
Ugh, that's upsetting.
Yeah, it'll be alright, I guess.
No, Stefan! Luffy, how do you pronounce it? Protagonist? Luffy. It's Luffy. Imagine him stretching and all that in live action.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
It's not.
No, it's gonna be good.
No, it's probably going to look worse than Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, it's gonna be fantastic.
Didn't they make...
No, the opposite.
Wasn't
No.
that most recent Fantastic Four film like a body horror?
I was talking about the original, but sure,
But
yeah.
sure, they're all a base level upsetting.
Oh, I just don't think it's gonna look good.
Well, it depends how they, again, interpret it, but Hollywood things have never really interpreted anime stuff very good. So, I don't have any hopes for it. But,
What are you talking about? What about Dragon Ball Evolution?
the best film.
The best film
Well,
ever.
Oda's executive producing and overseeing it, which he usually does with many of the larger One Piece films, so he has some control over it, I guess?
I
don't know how that would be. Oda being the creator of One Piece, of all.
Well, they might just have his name just so they can sign off on it, though.
No, he usually does creative overseeing.
Okay, well, good on it.
Did you like the part where it was nothing like the source material?
That's
my
favorite
favourite part.
Another piece of kind of animation news,
Are you reading our Twitter or someone else's Twitter?
Our Twitter.
Oh,
Yeah, we have a Twitter,
Should
everyone.
follow our Twitter.
I pretty much just retweet the animation news the day before we podcast.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
should
going
probably-
to be a lot of old news, but I'll try to keep it more current, I guess.
You do God's work, Ben, and by God's work, I mean the work we should all be doing, but you do.
To be fair, no, I don't. Anyway, it's not even a piece of animation news, this, but it's been 11 years since Coraline had premiered. Hooray.
It's a very specific number to celebrate.
I know, but Leica sent out this image, where the segment where Ben passes his phone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my favourite segment, Ben passes his phone around, and the audience has no frame of reference for what we're looking at. Stefan, write a jingle to go with that.
How? That was so long.
Just add piano to it.
Should I do a Randy Newman cover?
No.
Ben! Well, we're going to be talking about that later today in this episode as
Is
well.
Randy Newman in A Bug's Life?
You didn't watch the credits, did you?
No.
Okay.
That's the best part of that film.
That was... Oh, isn't it the blooper thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to do that a lot.
I like that. It made it seem
Okay,
like a film.
so...
I wish they did.
We'll talk about that later. We'll
Okay.
talk about it later. Okay, so I didn't watch it. I don't think you two would have watched it either. But there was a trailer for Minions: The Rise of Gru.
Oh, I saw
I
it.
did watch that.
Oh,
for
so I'm
some
the only
reason.
one who didn't watch it. Okay.
I watched it because for some reason YouTube felt it should recommend me it, even though I don't watch anything even remotely pertaining to that franchise or animation in general. It looks like a film.
It looks like a film. You heard it here first, folks.
It definitely seems.
Put that on the poster illumination.
It looks like a film.
No, it looks like it looks fun because illumination stuff is always fun, but it looks like the most cash grabby because they're like, oh, what could make more money than a Minions movie? A Minions movie with a young Gru, because everyone loves Gru. But it's like, yeah, it's exactly, the trailer is exactly what you would think the film would be. Nothing really stand out as of yet.
It seems like all companies want to, capitalize on the fact that young characters get a lot of money, like Baby Groot, Baby Yoda. They have now a Baby Peanut for a peanut company in America.
That bombed though, that commercial. Everyone hated it.
Still though, there were lots of memes about it on the internet.
Maybe we could have Baby Michael instead of normal Michael.
Wow.
Wow, perfect. I like him better already.
I bet he'll give more insight too.
Wow.
Amazing. 10 out of 10.
Wait, did Minions make more money than Despicable Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that's
It made
why.
over $1 billion.
I was gonna say that's why it's not like a Despicable Me prequel.
Yeah.
And it's a Minions sequel. Despicable.
I mean,
Teen?
now that has Gru in it, I guess it's just an in-between. So the last piece of animation news is the fact that they might be doing a Lilo and Stitch animated live a live action remake of Lilo and Stitch on Disney Plus.
No, why?
I don't know.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, so first they announced that Bambi live action thing,
Look, let's just
and
hope
now they're
they
doing Lilo and Stitch.
Let's hope they looked at cute Sonic and Pikachu and thought, okay, let's make Stitch look cute and not like original Sonic.
You know that someone's gonna edit whenever the trailer for that comes out. They're gonna edit it so Stitch is replaced by original Sonic.
Yes.
That would be great, actually.
But they don't need to do that. They'll just make another Lilo and Stitch film. That's
or just
2D.
do something else.
Yeah, do something original.
new.
But no.
It has to be a remake, Ben. Remakes sell money. Nostalgia.
I want to see Bambi's
Mum
mother
get shot.
in 4K Ultra HD HDR.
You're just a sadist.
I really want to feel the impact. I hope they use explosive rounds and it happens in front of Bambi.
No, you should go to one of those 4D cinemas where they have the seats that shake and all that.
Oh, Bambi, the 4D experience.
Now,
Just the usher comes up with like a bucket of like pig's blood and throws it on you when the mum gets shot.
I will definitely go to that as long as they offered me a poncho.
They They only play the film up to that bit and then they throw the bucket of blood on you and then he asks you for $43.
Yeah, this pig's blood.
hey, I asked for the
expensive.
vegan version. This wasn't meant to be pig's blood.
And that's all the animation news that I found during these last 2 weeks. And that I can be bothered saying because, you know what, this segment isn't meant to go for that long. So, hooray for me.
So, Bugs Life, Ben,
A Bug's
what
Life.
is it? What is it?
So, it's a 1998 film by Disney Pixar, like I said before.
So, Bugs, how's a Ben life?
Okay, so usually at this part of our podcast, one of us goes into a spiel about the production of the film, but we've already talked a lot about Pixar in our Toy Story episode. So instead,
Michael's just gonna sing
we're
the
gonna
whole
ma-
thing like Randy Newman.
We're gonna make it up.
instead I've decided not to focus on the production of it, but more on the feud between A Bug's Life and Antz.
Oh, this is a lot of fun.
So what do you know about like these releases?
Well, there's like a whole phenomena of like not copycat films, but coincidentally similar films.
Yes, there are. So, for example, there is...
Armageddon
Impact,
and Deep
Armageddon.
Impact.
Yep, and there's like The Missing Link and Smallfoot and Abominable. And
There was a lot
other
of films
things.
about like Abominable Snowmen or Bigfoot that came out
Yes.
in a very quick succession that also happened to be animations.
I think there was Finding Nemo, and I think shortly after was a Shark Tale or something.
Shark Tale was 3 years after Finding Nemo.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was only like a few months or a year.
No, I'm pretty sure. Shark Tale was about 2006.
That doesn't count because Shark Tale is the successor to The Godfather.
Never mind.
There's
then.
Schindler's List and Barnyard, the original party animals.
Like, anyway, well, this is talking about specifically A Bug's Life and Antz, and like there is quite a bit where it could have been a copycat, but we'll get into that and we'll discuss.
It
that
is
a
an
bit.
interesting story. Let's see if we can tell it at all.
So I called this The Feud Between Lasseter and Katzenberg, a bug story.
Laxenberg, Dawn of
Katzenberg.
Justice.
Okay, so Jeffrey Katzenberg was a producer at Disney and was part of the Disney Renaissance. So all those famous films from like A Little Mermaid to Tarzan. However, he had left Disney in, I think, 1994 or just shortly before that, after disagreements and law settlements with the then Disney CEO Michael Eisner, who, as a lot of people say, is a pretty shit guy. Yeah, so apparently he didn't pay him a $200 and something million bonus.
Oh,
and
I was gonna say
law settlements and stuff. And then Katzenberg decided to leave Disney because he had enough of Eisner's shit.
Okay, so it's more white collar criminality, and he's not like a sex offender like
No,
the rest of them.
no.
Okay.
Okay, so after Katzenberg had left Disney, he set up his own company with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen, creating DreamWorks SKG.
Yeah,
DreamWorks
we covered this in the Shrek one as well.
All your favorite
Yeah.
companies are born out of pettiness.
Right.
So I found out. I've always wondered what the SKG stands for in DreamWorks SKG, and it's after
Suck it,
Yes,
Katzenberg.
Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen.
Yeah, we said that last time.
I don't remember. It was 2 weeks ago.
It always-
Did you listen to our podcast, Ben?
No, I didn't.
It always sounded like a company suffix, like PTY Ltd.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, but no, it's just names.
Also, if this is someone's first podcast, it's good to mention it's Stefan.
Oh, no, now I'm a jerk.
We should treat
Oh,
every
don't worry.
podcast episode like it's the first one.
Yeah.
That's why from now on we're only reviewing Akira.
Every single episode.
Every single episode we're going to
We'll
review
do a new
Akira.
take on Akira every single time. Okay, so in 1994, Katzenberg met up with John Lasseter, who was currently working on the post-production of Toy Story. During their conversations, Lasseter also talked about their second film, which was then titled Bugs, and they had a pretty in-depth discussion about what they had done to it in 1994 and what they want to do in the future. And yeah, and Lasseter and Katzenberg had a pretty good relationship as well. So, it was just like, I just really want to show you how we're pushing forward our 3D technology. Not 3D as in eye-popping 3D, but 3D animation technology. Okay, so after the success of Toy Story, DreamWorks bought a computer animation division. I forgot what it was called. I think it was like PDI or something.
Yeah, DPI.
DPI, that's it. What did it stand for, Stefan?
I don't know.
Dense pixels per inch.
Yeah,
There
that
we
sounds
go.
about right.
It's
Dense
very
pixels.
close to...
10 pixels.
Yeah, dense pixels. Yep, that's it.
Oh no, we've lost Ben to the smoke.
Okay.
Stefan, we're going to have to continue the
So, Michael, what did you think of
No,
Bugs
okay,
Life?
so...
Well, I'm pretty sad now that we have to review with dead Ben in the room.
But Dead Ben is a good asset.
Oh no.
It's already better than a live Stefan and a live Michael.
Dead Ben is more lively and informative and well prepared.
He has so much charisma.
This dead Ben
What do you
here-
think, Dead Ben?
Well...
Ah!
He's alive!
No, someone's weekends are burning me, so it's all good.
It's just your brother behind you, like
Yep, puppeteering
doing
me.
the voice.
Okay, so after they bought the computer animation division, in 1996, Katzenberg announced that he would be making the 3D animated film Antz.
Ah.
So this is 2 years after he had talked to Lasseter about his Bugs film. And according
And
to...
then did they say, hey, how can we make a film that's the total opposite of A Bug's Life? Completely in every single way.
make it similar, but not.
But like put a war in it!
So according to Katzenberg, he had remembered a similar pitch when he was working at Disney in the 80s called Army Ants, about a pacifist ant living amongst militaristic ants.
I would
Another-
love Apocalypse Now, but with ants. Ant Apocalypse Now. You'd have like a Marlon Brando ant.
I reckon if
He'd be in
Marlon...
the Burmese jungle.
So you just want an apocalypse now, but with ants.
But exactly
Was
with
he
ants.
alive in 1998? Brando?
No, when did he die? No, yeah, he died in the early 2000s, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I wonder why they didn't hire him. They got every other big name actor.
Mm.
Anyway, so another source claims he heard the pitch from one of his executives and from another person as well. However, Lasseter felt betrayed, feeling Katzenberg had stolen his idea from the talks in 1994.
Sorry, I tried to type in Brando so I could find out when he died, which was in 2004, incidentally. But I accidentally typed in Rando. Turns out Rando was in the dictionary as a person one does not know.
Oh.
There we go.
A random person.
Thanks,
otherwise
Australia,
known as
for
a
ruining
rando.
language.
Yeah, get that rando out of here.
Get that bloody... Nah, let's... I can't even speak today. It's all that bloody smoke.
So, Katzenberg went to work quickly with this film because this has been announced 2 years after they've already been working on A Bug's Life for 2 years. And they wanted to really compete with Pixar for some reason.
I picture them in, opposing office buildings.
No, it's like Aerosmith and Run DMC playing the animations really loudly, and then Steven Tyler just beats down the wall and starts singing.
You'll never steer out Bugs' idea. Your what idea? Bugs.
What was that? We're doing something about ants. But that's still Bugs.
I can't hear you over how good my Antz animation is.
Well, mine's even better. Mine are red. Well, mine are blue.
We're gonna put a war in ours.
Okay, well, they both have war aspects in it. Anyway,
Is one of them about like a carnival? Oh, they kind of do, yeah.
so Katzenberg hired very big names like Woody Allen, Sylvester Stallone, Sharon Stone,
Who's popular with the kids?
Christopher
Woody
Walken.
Allen.
Christopher Walken, Dan Aykroyd, and more. Which to me is just such a bizarre cast for animated.
Yeah, like a children's film.
Yeah, but the thing is, this was kind of aimed towards an older audience, I would say.
I was gonna say, because that's just like a laundry list of actors designed exclusively to alienate children.
Also, the writers for this film as well were like told to make it very Woody Allen-esque as well. The film.
That's so with a war in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and very militaristic as.
I'm in a war. Sorry, that's my Woody Allen.
That was pretty alright for just an off-the-cuff Woody Allen impression. Okay. Where am I up to?
Every episode, this is the shit impression of somebody.
So rumors say that Katzenberg had paid the animation department extra money to get the film done and dusted as soon as possible, whereas Pixar went in from a different direction, taking a very much a longer development process and hiring mainly sitcom stars to voice the cast of Bugs, like Julia Dreyfus. I don't know her name, but she's in Seinfeld.
Yeah, Julia.
That
Wait,
one.
who was she?
She was Princess Ada.
Oh, okay. I like I told you, I didn't watch the credits.
Back to A Bug's Life / Antz.
We're still talking about this?
Yes.
I'm going to talk about Seinfeld.
So funnily enough, Antz wasn't going to be the first animated film to be done by DreamWorks.
No.
It was going to be The Prince of Egypt, which was slated to be released in November 1998, which was the same release date as A Bug's Life. But then, because Katzenberg really wanted to show off their animation division, he moved up the Antz release date from 1999 to October 1998, which was 6 weeks before A Bug's Life and The Prince of Egypt. Which, to me, it just sounds
But were they working
horrendous.
on both projects simultaneously?
Yes, but one 3D, one 2D, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
But why would you move your first 3D animated project up 5 months just to spite Pixar?
Pettiness! Yeah, you answered your own question. Why did they do that just to spite? Oh, with the spite, yes. I forgot about the spite.
So Lasseter claimed that under any other circumstances, he would have given his staff the day off to go see Antz, but the relationship between he and Katzenberg had soured way too much.
They used to be best friends, and now the only reason they hate each other is because, I don't know, why do that?
Katzenberg might have stolen the idea off of John Lasseter about the whole, bug
Antz?
thing. Because they are pretty similar,
think-
as a concept.
I think John Lasseter was like, I was going to put a war in mine. Now he can't put a war in it. I want a bit when the protagonist picks up the severed head of his best friend.
Yep.
We put that in a children's film.
So, Antz was released to generally positive reviews, with its star power and satirical plot giving the studio success at the box office. 6 weeks later, A Bug's Life released, and it did better than Antz. About twice as much globally, which is, I think, pretty decent.
And so for the next 2 years, John Lasseter went up with his fingers and just started giving the bird to the other guy for 2 years, and he was dancing the entire time.
A lot of people think that Katzenberg wanted his to come first to tank A Bug's Life, but obviously the opposite ended up happening.
Yeah, he would feel pretty bad about himself, I would feel. Like, that's a lot of moves he's done that's bad for his animation thing to move a film so far ahead, and yet it didn't work out. It's like all of his moves were just out of spite, and it didn't actually prevail. And nowadays, does anyone really talk about Antz as much as they talk about Bug's Life?
I would say they get talked about the same amount.
I think Antz is more interesting.
But I think Bug's Life is the more popular.
It's the better film, I would say.
You think Bug's Life is the better film?
As someone who hasn't seen Antz in a long time.
I haven't seen Antz in a very, very long time.
I think I just have a soft spot for things that are like kind of more weird and risky. And that feels more weird and risky, even though Bug's Life is probably the more consistent film.
I never said it was the one I liked more. Again, I haven't seen Antz in a while, but I feel like as a film with all the
children's
elements.
film with Woody Allen as the main. Like, can you imagine just like Pixar doing that? Like, what's an
No.
equivalent? Like, get John Voight. I don't know.
Isn't he dead now? No, he isn't.
I
Sorry.
don't think John Voight is dead.
No.
They're mostly dead. Woody Allen's still around.
Yep.
Got nothing there. Keep going.
Okay. So, with its influence of the Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven and its added Pixar charm, it held its own against The Prince of Egypt and was better received, although both aren't looked highly upon the pantheon of films in both animation
Prince of
departments.
Egypt isn't looked highly upon?
No, Antz.
Oh, I was gonna
and A
say.
Bug's
Yeah, I was
Life.
about to say, I was going to fight you on Prince of Egypt.
Even if you're not religious,
Prince
that
of
movie
Egypt
It
is
is very
amazing.
good.
Yeah.
I watched like 4 or 5 years ago for the first time, and it was really good.
It's fantastic.
Anyway, that's
Bug's
the
Life.
feud. They don't like each other now.
Yeah,
That's
good on
it.
them. And they never have. The
No.
end.
So, do you think Katzenberg actually stole the idea for Antz?
I would literally like to think that he like abseiled into the Pixar offices one day wearing like a cat burglar suit and just like picked it out of a cat filing cabinet.
But they talked about it. He wouldn't have had to.
Nah, he was abseiled down the building
No,
and
I,
picked it
I
out of
love
the
if
filing
it was like
cabinet.
one of those things where John Lasseter's like, so we got this movie about bugs. Oh, wait, bugs? Yeah, keep going. And the bugs do this. Oh, yes, yes,
He like
yes.
slowly reaches under his desk where there's like a tape recorder just taped to the underside and he presses record.
Oh, tell me more about the bugs.
No, actually, I like to think that the Bug's Life script is on like a little podium in the middle of a room filled with lasers.
And he had to do
He
like...
has to abseil in. All of my thoughts involve abseiling in some fashion.
Can't he just like wear a suit of mirrors to deflect the lasers?
No, the whole point of a laser system is that if you break the line of the laser and it doesn't hit the receiver at the other end of the room, then the alarm goes off. If you wore a mirror suit, then you'd just be...
Okay, but to keep it canon
I didn't
full-
come here to discuss business security systems. I came here to discuss how Mr. Katzenberg abseiled into the Pixar offices to steal the Pink Panther diamond, or whatever we were talking about.
What if,
Bug's Life script.
instead of the script being in the case, it was actually John Lasseter who was in the case
Holding
with
the
idea.
script.
Yeah, and so he had to steal John Lasseter.
And John Lasseter never knew.
No, he was just chilling out.
And then he sets off the alarm and he has to get him out of there. But oh no, John Lasseter's Hawaiian shirt got caught on the doorknob.
Which Hawaiian shirt is it? We'll never know because he owns like 50 million of them.
We've mentioned John Lasseter a bit too many times in this podcast.
Yeah, I didn't want to, but then I realized I kind of had to.
John Lasseter, more like he probably has a criminal record.
Duh.
And,
Okay, so let's move on to the plot summary of A Bug's Life.
Is this defamation? Do we have to yell allegedly before we talk about anybody?
Uh,
We know nothing about John Lasseter.
we're also going to be talking about Kevin Spacey.
Oh no!
So,
And Woody Allen, I guess that's another issue. Is everyone in Hollywood a bad bloke?
yes.
Uh,
Anyway, we're going to ignore all the controversy around the people. Not because we're ignorant about it, just because we don't want to talk politics.
we have no idea how to talk about this stuff.
Okay,
We're so dumb.
so the plot summary of A Bug's Life. Stefan heard me writing this and he didn't like it, so let's go. In order to save his colony from a gang of motorcycling but not really grasshoppers, Flick hires a group of pretend warriors who are actually circus performers to defend his people. The best part? The only reason he was sent away is because nobody wanted him. But hey,
The only reason.
he ends up dating the princess, so all's well that ends well, I guess.
Seinfeld but bugs.
Okay, so
Is that going to be our thing now? Just like semi-accurate plot breakdowns?
hey, that was a very accurate plot breakdown.
I like the part when some of it was correct.
All of it was correct. He wasn't wanted by his people. He got warrior bugs to defend his people. They ended up being circus performers, and the grasshoppers were kind of a motorcycle gang, but not really.
It's the best kind of true, technically.
And he does end up dating Princess Ada at the end.
Ben's right. He should have written the script to Bug's Life.
And then not told Katzenberg about it.
Or Antz.
Okay, so what did you think about it, Michael?
It's pretty good. I like the bit with the bird. It's like... It's the forgotten Pixar film to an extent, I think.
So,
Because it came out in between two better films in the same franchise.
yeah, so I feel like this film gets kicked around a lot because I think it's a pretty solid film, but a lot of people have it at the bottom of their lists, which I guess speaks to how high the quality of Pixar
I was going to
films
say,
are.
it'd be nearing the bottom percentile, but only because the caliber of their other works is so high.
Yes. Which then I kind of understand, but still, I think A Bug's Life is a really solid classic Pixar film.
It's not worse than Cars.
Definitely not.
I actually really liked Bug's Life as a kid. A thing
Yeah,
I really
same.
appreciated was I like the relationship dynamic between Flick and Princess Ada. I thought that was really nice. And something I actually really preferred to this as opposed to Toy Story is that this had a lot more scenery changes. Like, they weren't
Yes,
necessarily good or fleshed out. Like, the city is a bit primitive in terms of its 3D buildings and whatnot, like the Bug City.
Yes.
But there are so many more atmospheric changes, like where you've got the bird in the thunderstorm. I loved Hopper as a villain. It just seemed like it was... They were trying to be a bit more ambitious with things.
To me, this seems like a very adult sort of storyline, but inserted into a kid's film.
I'd actually say it's the more childlike storyline.
I meant the core concept of the story, where there's these, like, Seven Samurai. Again, this is inspired by Seven Samurai, where you have this town being raided by these raiders. Yeah, raided by the raiders. Fantastic wording, Ben. Anyway, so they bring in people to help defend
believe
them.
the
Ben,
actual
just
term...
again for the audience, what do raiders do again?
They pillage.
Ah, there you go.
They're not pillagers, but they're raiders.
of the Lost Ark.
Yep. So, yeah, it's very Seven Samurai-esque, I guess. And I guess that can be applied towards both adult and children's storytelling. But just the way that they handled it, just to me seemed quite dull. Even though I did really enjoy this as a kid, but I felt like I got a lot more out of it as an adult.
I think it's the most cuddly looking of all the Pixar films as well.
Cuddly looking. Oh.
I actually really appreciate the character design.
Well, the
Yes.
designs of the circus troupe, at least,
Yeah.
are quite kind of child-friendly and cute. And the grasshoppers are kind of gross and spiny.
Yeah, actually, in terms of design attributes, this film has
Really
very good design.
Yes. It does.
But that doesn't
It's
necessarily say its rendering is up to par.
Yes.
But it's no Antz when every character is scary triangles.
Yeah, so the rendering in this, I found it wasn't as good, obviously as good as it is nowadays, but I still thought it was decent. And, like, the only thing I would say is the lighting. I reckon if they fixed the lighting and some of the, like, how shiny some things were.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was a big problem. Like, a lot of things looked a bit plasticky. Because, like, this was the first time they were going outside of just toys.
Yeah.
Really.
And
'Cause
toys, you can get away with plasticky because they are plastic.
Exactly, where they're moving on towards something more organic, not focusing on humans yet, but yeah, focusing on something still organic, and they almost got there, but not quite.
Again, though, it's one of those cases where, for a casual observer, because the story is so... This is Pixar at its prime, so they know how to tell a good story, and this
Yes.
one has good character. You kind of forget that everything looks kind of a bit wonky at places.
Although I will say, do you know how last week we were talking about Shrek, how I was talking about all the texturing errors?
Yeah.
I couldn't find any in this.
But that's because there weren't many textures.
Also, Shrek was more experimental.
Yes,
Yes.
Shrek had that very realistic kind of texturing, whereas this was kind of just, it's still, it's like one level up from the plasticky rendering of the toys. Like, I wouldn't say the ants had, like, little hairs or anything to really make them look like ants. They were blue. Ants aren't blue. Like,
But I'm talking about, like, the...
Entomologist
I'm talking about
Stefan
the
here today.
environmental textures. Because you were talking about how this
It's
goes...
entomologist.
Well, Michael talked about how this goes... One of you mentioned it was going to a lot more places this time. And, like, where Shrek also did. But I just couldn't find any of those, like, weird stretching errors or anything like that
Okay.
compared. Like, the characters, yes, these aren't as good. Like, they aren't as detailed as Shrek or anything. But, like... From 1998 compared to 2000 and... What year was it? 2?
2001 Shrek.
One to Shrek, yeah.
So that 2 years difference. There is a bit of difference, but I think that Pixar still pulled it off slightly better with the texturing. Not the rendering, but the texturing in A Bug's Life. But yeah, that's just the textures. Yeah, the rendering, we mentioned, was a bit plasticky at times.
Something that did I don't know whether to call it texture, but the end scene with the water, when it's big droplets,
Yeah, water physics.
They were pretty good.
I like
Yes.
that. I like that surface tension kind of thing
Yeah.
they have.
No, yeah, so I forgot to research this. This is actually something I wanted to talk about, but I'm pretty sure.
Isn't that this is the first use of simulated
water.
water in film?
However, they also did water in Antz as well.
Oh, where is that in Antz?
Oh, they just copied the scene from Bug's Life and just stuck it
because
in.
isn't it like in Antz? Isn't it like a shell bombing kind of thing?
Yes, they escape from their home being flooded by getting into a big ball, don't they?
I remember that was a really cool scene in Antz from watching that as a kid.
However, they might have worked on it first on A Bug's Life. I don't know, but from what I remember, I heard that this is the first use
Are
of
we
proper
sure
water
they're not the
physics.
same film?
Yes.
Like, what if they're the same in the same universe, except one is like on one side of the world where all the ants are blue, and one's the other side of the
We
world.
told
where
you,
all the ants
Stephen,
are
they're in
red.
opposing buildings.
Actually, I read the original pitch. Originally, there wasn't going to be Flick, but there was going to be another ant with the circus people called Red, and he was a red army ant.
Ah.
And he was going to be
okay.
the point of view character, and he would have the same character arc as Flick.
Was he played by Woody Allen?
No.
Oh.
But no, so there was going to be
He was
a
played
red
by Ronan
ant.
Farrow.
Um,
No, he would have been like really young.
what do you think of the story?
Uh,
Again, very Seven Samurai-esque, but with that
exile,
twist.
fall into another little troop and have to
Yeah.
fight a war.
Yep.
Yep.
I think the story for me, it's a fun it's a simple story that you can just hang all your showpieces, all your characters off. And for me, this film has a very good array of characters that I like. Like, I love the
definitely.
ladybug, I love the stick, I love all the dynamics.
Do you know any of their names?
Stick,
You
ladybug.
know what? I'm not gonna. I won't lie to you. I didn't actually see this film this week. I didn't watch it.
Last week.
I've seen it. I've just seen this film so many times it just kind of sticks with me.
Okay.
But I don't remember the names as much.
Look, I watched it last night. I don't remember. I remember Flick, Ada, Dot,
Yeah.
Hopper.
But like,
That's it.
I think this film is a really good thing in that the relationships between kind of a large cast. Like you've got the whole troop. You've got the little flea guy. You've got Hopper. You've got Hopper's group.
You got the pill bugs.
And yet nothing ever feels too fast, and everyone has little moments. Like, this was one of the first animated films as a kid that I could totally believe that Ada and Flick were in love. And in animation, that's really hard because I actually saw Shrek before this film because for some reason I was
well, that's
slow to
fine.
watch films.
Yeah.
And Shrek, I did not get why Fiona liked Shrek. I didn't understand
Because
it.
they're both ogres, and everyone knows if you look similar, you have to fall in love.
Remember she burped in the forest. It's true love.
No, but this
Do you remember the bit when she pulled the arrow out of his ass?
romantic.
Isn't that how you meet everyone?
I've been dating
That's the sign
all
of a
the wrong way.
Yeah, you gotta get shot in the ass in a forest.
Okay, well, guys, I'll be back in a bit.
I'm gonna go get... Whoever pulls it out, you have to marry. That's law.
What is that like Sword in the Stone? Like
Yeah,
you have to pull the arrow out. Whoever pulls the arrow out of this guy's ass marries him. What the hell is that?
It's just it's like a scalper.
Okay, as you were saying, Stefan, about the characters.
No, I was just that last thing on Ada and Flick. Like it starts with just the bantering of him trying to impress her because he's the queen and he wants to show himself up.
Princess.
Sorry. And then in the middle, you start to see that they start talking and they actually do have a thing for each other. And I love the little animation thing where their antennas get stuck together.
Yeah.
And they try to untangle it, and then the other bugs look at each other like, oh yeah, okay, we know they have a thing for each other. And there's nice little interactions, not with just them, but all the other characters. Like they just have a really good chemistry that although they're not shown on screen as much because it's a 90-minute film and you have to fit a lot in it, you can believe that all these characters are friends and all these characters would work together to build a giant bird.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like, I just like it. I think it works story-wise and it really... I feel it's a lot more... It's a nicer story than Antz. Like,
Yes,
Antz
it is.
always felt very hard to me.
Like,
Whereas...
yeah.
Because it's a war and whatnot. Whereas this had, like... You had Hopper, who's a jerk, but everyone else is quite nice and
It had that
fluffy.
really good Pixar storytelling.
Yeah.
You just mentioned Hopper. Let's speak about the grasshoppers. I think these are really great antagonists.
Intimidating villains?
Yeah, very well designed as well. Like, you can tell that they're in a gang with each other, and like they really conveyed that motorcycle gang without them like having helmets and jackets and all that sort of stuff. Like with the sound
But
design.
they're kind of like
them.
leathery and armored. So
Exactly.
It looks like that, yeah.
And yeah, just the way that the exoskeleton is designed just looks very hardy and tough.
I like the bit where he killed one of them with some nuts.
Yeah, that's right.
Grain, how dare
Grain,
you?
sorry, yeah.
I think I love Hopper's design too, and I especially love
yeah.
how they emphasize their feet when they
Yes.
when they curl on the ground or curl over the ants' heads. Like they just look real, like velociraptors, almost really controlled.
Oh, that's a really good comparison.
Yeah, I always loved that as a kid.
Well, I
Hopper
guess they would have to emphasize their feet, seeming as they keep saying, "Oh, we're gonna squish you."
and they do that really well, and they do actually have like little hair textures and follicles,
Yeah, they do.
which
Oh,
I thought really worked
I really
well.
like Molt as well. How you get like his molting skin
Yeah.
all the time. You can actually see bits like floating in the air as well. I thought that was really, really
And
well
then it
done.
climaxes at the end where his
Yes.
whole skin
Like
just
even today, I reckon
explodes.
that texture for his molting skin is really well done.
Yeah, it is. It's
today.
transparent and everything.
I would say the worst texture part is when that slug is eating the salt and it's just a bunch of bubbles that don't look good.
Yeah, okay.
Like
I
even
could
as
see
a
that.
kid, I didn't think that looked good. But apart from that, all that's
The thing about
hot.
Hopper story-wise that I really liked as a kid and still like to this day is he's one of the few Pixar antagonists who is run completely by fear.
Yes.
Like he's basically saying, "No, we have to threaten them, otherwise they'll not be scared of us, and we can't run our dictatorship anymore." So it's really funny how
They run like a protection racket.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the end is literally he loses from something that in the food chain that's bigger than
Yes.
him. And again, his last thing is him screaming in fear.
And I think they do a lot of setups and payoffs really well in this film
Yeah,
as
they
well.
really do. Like I
Like,
love
with the bird many times in this. With butterfly, with Heimlich turning into the butterfly, and just lots of other things. Like the thing that Flick makes to harvest grain as well. They bring
Yeah.
that back at the end. Lots of great payoffs and setup.
my favorite one is the oddest thing in the film in terms of what you base your emotional moment over, which is where he gives Dot the rock and says pretends it's a seed.
Yes.
And then later on, Dot just brings a rock to him and goes, "Okay, pretend it's a seed," and you just get what she's trying to say from that. And I love how they spin on that by having the circus bugs not understand what the rock is, and they're just like, "Whoa,
He presents to
it must
you
be
a
an
rock.
ant thing." And then they decide, "Oh, we'll present a rock to the ant."
Yep.
And then when they do it, the ants don't know what the rock is, and meanwhile the circus bugs are like, "Oh yeah, we totally nailed this. We get this culture. We brought them a rock and everything." But it's things like that that make it feel
Yeah.
like a well-grounded world that has both like predators but also friends and whatnot. Whereas ants just felt like there were enemies everywhere, and then Sylvester Stallone.
Yep.
So that's it.
I'm going to talk about a few sequences which were really good. So we have, let's talk about the opening circus act scene. I thought that was really well done, like of introducing all the characters,
Oh,
then
yeah.
showing how they're all circus performers, but they're not that great at it.
Yeah.
They're all stuff up. Like that was a really engaging scene, and the slapstick comedy in this is really great as well, and especially with like P.T. Flea, who's obviously a ripoff of P.T. Barnum,
Yeah.
getting off the flypaper, walking away triumphantly, and then it falls on him and he catches on fire. I thought that was
one, yeah.
a really great funny
Spontaneous
moment.
combustion is always amusing.
It wasn't spontaneous combustion.
No,
There
it's
was
not,
reason
is
to it.
Fire is always amusing.
Yes, there we go.
Except when-
especially the bushfires in Australia.
Except when
Haha.
it's the East Gippslands and no one can breathe.
Do you know they're making special pops of the firefighters?
Yeah.
With koalas, and they're selling all the proceeds to the bushfire people.
Is it all of the proceeds though?
I think it
Probably
would
not.
be. No, well, it could
I reckon
be.
they will take
Is that
the
tasteful?
production cost and then give the rest to them.
Okay.
Is that tasteful?
Who knows?
Isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's
that
tasteful.
sounds alright. Yeah.
Anyway,
You always have to second guess these things. That's
Yes.
that's just the problem.
because we live in a capitalist society. Anyway, back to A Bug's
We
Life.
live in a society.
on a train.
On a train.
In Snowpiercer.
Do you remember how society was the train?
Society was a train the whole time,
Well,
Ben.
how did
Talking about
they
Infinity
fit? How did they
Train.
fit society into the train?
I don't know.
Because if society is everywhere, Stefan,
You
how
were
could it
talking
be in a
about
train?
Snowpiercer or Infinity Train. I don't know which one.
Well, is the society in the train an infinity train?
Yes.
Oh,
Whoa.
but there's more
There's
society.
actually many societies in the train in Infinity
No, but
Train.
that's not all of society.
All of
whereas
society. Snowpiercer.
is all of society.
Each carriage has a portion of society, and together the train is all of
Well,
society.
this has
Society-
infinite carriages.
No, but that's not necessarily all of society. It's just like little parts
Oh,
of
it's just
different
smaller
societies.
Plus, if it's
infinities.
infinite, then you have to run out of society, and it would be other things in there. There'd be
Where-
just one of like books.
There is, actually.
Oh,
Anyway, back to A Bug's Life. Another sequence, the first bird chase, I thought was really fun.
That was
Is
one
that
of
the
my-
one on the crackly
the cracked
ground?
ground sand. Yeah.
Okay.
that used to be my favorite scene as a kid. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's just really fun how they do it. Like how
It's the big dinosaur.
like we
kind of
saw, yeah, and we saw how all the bugs, circus bugs, were failures of circus performers, but now how their mishaps turn out to be very heroic.
Yeah.
And I found that really, really fun.
It's one of those cases where it's funny because it always shows, and they cut it well, where whenever it cuts to their perspective, they're like fumbling around, not making sense of anything and just trying to survive. And then from the other people's perspective, they're like, look, they're heroically doing this.
Yep.
And that's funny. I like how they do those cutaways.
The building the bird sequence I find really fun. Still,
that's cool. Yeah.
like how they replicate the bird like within the ant society is really fun. How they trace the cutout of a bird and lift it up from a leaf. I thought that, like,
And use the shadow and
Yes.
like put the
For
rocks
some
around
reason,
it.
it reminds me of Chicken Run when they're building the
It
flying
does
coop.
remind me of Chicken Run.
When they're building the flying coop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's something like just satisfying about it, about like the construction coming together and how it's all kind of like impromptu and
Yeah,
a little
especially
bit like
with all these
haphazard.
Yeah, like without this industrial age type of
Yeah, they're
society
just
as
kind of like
well.
stringing things together
Yeah,
and
they
tying
also
it up. Yeah.
thought up how ants in this world would be able to make something
Yeah.
like this.
and using everything around them, and they like set up that it was autumn or fall, and how they used those colored leaves as the bird's feathers.
that's clever how
Yes.
it's actually coloured like fall leaves. Like, someone has to think of that stuff. Who's going to think? They just make, no, leaves are green. Make
Exactly.
it green.
There's this one guy that ran in at the end of it. It's like, we have to set the whole film during autumn.
And
If we're gonna have the last scene work.
and like getting the acorn to get in half to look like the beak and all that. Yeah, just really great stuff.
Designs are underrated in this film. Like, no one really talks about Bug's Life design, as opposed to, say, like, your Finding Nemo's, your Monsters, Inc. and all them. But the design is quite impressive.
It really
through
is.
all the characters. And, like, you can tell what's meant to be what. Everyone's got an endearing face, especially Hoppy. He's a cutie.
Yeah, it's like everything in this film isn't by accident, and everything in this film is meant to be. There isn't anything wasted in this, which is something I really appreciate about it.
You have to be efficient when you have like quite poor computer power at your disposal.
Yeah.
Well, back then it wasn't, but
Yeah.
relative to now.
Yeah, I
suppose.
get what you mean, though. Yeah, a lot of films now. I guess that it's seen as a cheap way to make. Well, not really a cheap way, but it's a lot cheaper to do 3D animation now. A lot of people add a lot of that extra stuff they don't need, which I feel is kind of a problem. We'll talk about the initial fake bird versus the grasshopper scene. I thought was really fun as well.
That's when it's raining, right?
Just before it starts raining,
Okay.
when they first unleashed the bird on
Yeah.
them.
And then Kevin Spacey's like, "Look at that fake bird." Oh no.
That's the great reenactment.
Actually, I always
That's fit
liked
with the real bird. At the
before that. I always really liked how the circus bugs use those berries as blood
yeah.
end. Yeah.
and like to trick the grasshoppers. That was really clever. And I think one of the best shots in this film is after the bird catches on fire, and you have Hopper standing in front of the fire, talking and monologuing to all the ants. I think the lighting in that is really spectacular and probably the best shots of the film.
It looks like something out of like Troy with like the burning of like a Trojan horse or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
It was really kind of like mythic, or
Yes.
particularly like Greek mythology.
And I still think that those shots hold up to this day because of how well they're shot and lit.
Oh, lighting can save low poly modeling.
I just
Definitely.
wish they did that level lighting for all the film though, because there were
Everything has to be on fire.
But it's kind of hard because a lot of the film is set in day.
yeah, just broad daylight.
It's
I know.
Pixar's new film, Fire. It just stars anthropomorphic fires.
And in that
Fire, spread the love.
something I really like about that monologue,
Except
and
in East Gippsland.
Yeah, stop it. Stop it. Stop. Just rain, for the love of God.
it has been raining.
But not there.
I know. In the non-affected areas, yeah, we get the rain. Anyway, so something I really like about Hopper is the voice of him. I'm not gonna say who it is.
We said Kevin multiple times.
I'm not gonna say who it is, but he really delivers that really like manipulative but charming type of villain.
He's very intense with everything he
Did
says.
you see that video that Kevin put on YouTube when he was like, "You want me back as Hopper?" and he did the video in character?
No.
I'm joking. Do you remember when he did the? He went on YouTube and he did like
Wasn't it for House of Cards?
yeah, I'm saying
Yeah.
what if it was like for Bug's Life? Just like,
Okay.
you want me back. Look
Yeah.
at these seeds, and then he throws them at the camera.
Anyway, but no, the voice of Hopper I think is really well done for the villain, and like it has a perfect amount of menacing yet sort of a charisma to it
I'd
as
say
well.
all the voice acting in this is pretty superb because even Flick sounds like your innocent, hyper-energetic kid who wants to
plays
impress
Flick?
everyone.
Someone called Dave Foley, who was in a lot of
Oh,
sitcoms.
Dave Foley. That guy is.
I don't know who he is.
Yeah, no. Dave Foley is like a really famous character actor.
Yeah.
Who's in a lot of like peripheral.
Yeah, again,
and
a lot of the
supporting
voice
performances.
actors in this are using those sorts of people.
Yeah, but that's you use either voice actors.
Also,
like,
Dennis Leary is the ladybug.
that's funny. Who's the caterpillar?
The caterpillar is actually, I think, one of the riders or something. Joe Ranft.
That always happens. It's like
Yeah.
how who played Roz in Monsters Inc.
I don't know.
I think it was either
one of the people working.
It's
on
one of the
it.
directors.
Yeah.
it's a guy.
Oh, probably Lee Unkrich, or however you say his name. I don't know.
You're probably right, but that's no, that's like such a good voice because it legit kind of sounds like a little bit like an old lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, back to A Bug's Life. Yeah, and then you have the final moments after the Hopper monologue where it starts raining. When the rain comes in, and this is very much a riff on war, like with the incoming missiles and stuff. I thought that was really well done, and like a really
Like shells hitting the ground.
yes, like just the sound design of that made it very clear. It was a very like hectic and chaotic time for all the bugs, and they treated it like as a serious threat, which was good.
I think my favorite shot. You were saying how your favorite shot was where Hopper with the burning wreckage of the bird. I really thought the very final shot of Hopper where he's got Flick pinned down and the bird comes up behind him, the real bird. That always sticks with me for some reason because it's done at a low shot. And you just see how big this bird is. And I love how that bird in real life is probably like, I don't know, about 5 centimeters tall. But here it looks massive and terrifying. It's got those void eyes. And then when he lowers Hopper into the baby birds look horrifying. They're just like jumping up at the camera like, give me, I want to eat you alive.
Yeah, that is a horrific death.
Like
I do like how Disney does like really violent
villain deaths.
like villain deaths. Yeah. Do you remember the villain from Tarzan?
Oh, that was bad.
he gets not only hung, but he gets like dropped from like 40 feet and then hung.
You know what?
Like his head would have come clean off.
Yeah.
You should have seen the deleted scene of Tarzan. It involves like all the
Is
chimpanzees.
it when the monkeys
getting...
eat his corpse?
No, it's where the monkeys break out of the ship and get machine guns and start firing at the crew.
That's so cool. Why didn't they do that?
There's a lot wrong with that, Mike.
You know what?
That's so awesome.
You know what I forgot to mention? Why the grasshoppers were the antagonists.
Weren't they just kind of dickheads?
No, because they wanted the food, and that was the whole thing. That Flick
Oh yeah, because they were like
tipped
foragers.
over all the food.
Yeah.
Everything's Flick's fault, but it's alright because he
He
saves
saves
it
the
at the
day.
end.
Just like most protagonists, they end up kicking off the bad things, and then they save everyone from it.
You should just stop doing the bad things.
Well, that's what stories are for, Stefan. To learn from the bad things. Not mistakes,
The
things.
things, just the bad things.
Yes. Oh,
Bug's
that's
Life.
actually something. So, Randy Newman did the score, and I'm so upset that
do,
he
like-
didn't sing a song until the credits.
Which song was it in the credits?
Da-na-na, Dun-dun-dun.
Bugs.
Dun-dun-dun. But
They're
no,
alive.
because I
Bye.
clearly remember listening to the song as a kid during the credits, but now that we've been doing this podcast and you've been singing Randy Newman impressions, I'm really upset they didn't include it in the actual film itself and just saved it for the credits.
Oh no, Flick broke the food.
It's the building the bird montage
Oh.
scene.
Look at the bird.
They're using the shadow in the leaf.
Oh,
Oh, look at the bird.
this was also...
Do you think it's got a trick, Kevin Spacey?
Are you going to keep singing?
What?
Yes.
Why is your Randy Newman now sounding like Batman?
Imagine if Randy Newman played Batman.
Oh no. My parents were shot.
I'm gonna have to be a bat.
Okay, so there's one more thing I wanted to mention as well. Sorry, is that this is the first out of 3 Pixar films to have animated outtakes during the credits.
I wish they continued them.
I know.
Wait, the first one?
Yeah, the first Pixar
Okay.
film. Yeah, and I thought this was really fun, and it's like it's a really interesting way to do the credits. I think.
When did they stop?
They just did this one, Toy Story 2.
And Monsters Inc.
I'm sure
Yeah.
Cars had some at some point.
No.
No.
I remember.
But what
To me, it's so bizarre just getting the voice actors to come back
I
to
know.
record
Just for an
fake goofs that they have
You know
to
how hard it is to
animate.
make fake
Do you know
goofs?
which were my favourite ones though? My favourite outtakes were the ones where they got characters from different movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like the one, I think the one in Bug's Life is where they're as no, that's in Toy Story 2. But in Toy Story
yes.
2, you see the bugs on the leaf, and then
ah,
Buzz just
we're
like
in a
cuts through them.
sequel. Oh, yeah, in Bug's Life 2. Oh, yeah, it's a sequel, but it's not Bug's Life 2. Oh, which one is it? Chop, yeah.
Wait. At the end of Cars, I remember they're watching.
Yeah, that's not an outtake.
Yeah,
No,
sorry.
they're watching all of Ham.
Yeah, that's what
plays Ham.
that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of.
And then the truck goes, "Oh, this is ridiculous! They just hire the same actor to play the same sort of character."
No, my favorite outtakes from A Bug's Life was when Hopper was trying to stare down Princess Ada, and then she keeps like mucking
Yeah,
up
she
and
keeps laughing.
like your face.
This is the 40th take. I can't take this.
I'm going to my trailer. But no, I thought that was a really great way to send off the film with those credits. Final thoughts.
I liked the part when Sylvester Stallone died.
That was not this movie.
Oh, I watched the wrong one then.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. They're basically the same.
Except for no. They
Except
are
one's
not.
like rated R and has a bigger war in it.
Stefan.
Antz now with a bigger war.
Stefan, what was your final thoughts?
Very underrated Pixar film. It's got great characters, great writing, surprisingly good 3D rendering for the time, and really great design. I think it's definitely one that shouldn't be overlooked just because it's not as good as Toy Story in terms of what the community sees. But I really like it.
Yeah, so it was this movie and the 2 first Toy Story films, which I had on repeat a lot as a kid. And watching this again as an adult, I don't think it detracted to how I experienced it as a kid. In fact, I think I might have enjoyed it more.
Okay.
Just simply because as an adult, I think I got a lot more out of the story and all the tiny details that I wouldn't have got as a kid. Yeah, and I really liked revisiting this. It wouldn't be one of my favorite movies ever, but it's definitely a really good, solid film for kids and adults alike. Hooray!
So, what are we doing next week? We're doing Tech on King Crate. Why we're doing that, I don't know, but we're doing that.
You picked it!
Are you talking about the film based on Michael Jackson's song Black or White?
Yes.
Are you talking about a film based on the popular video game franchise Street Fighter?
Yes, Tekken. That's it. Tekken,
Ah.
the animated movie that isn't Tekken.
Okay, so yeah, it's an interesting film, that one, and we'll get into it next week.
It's also very long.
Yes, what happened to 90 minutes?
I watched
Stefan?
the 90-minute mark and then I switched it off.
Look, it probably made just about as much as sense.
I liked how it looked,
not gonna
but
lie,
we'll get it to that next week.
If you stopped it at 90 minutes, you would have missed the best animation.
I think I looked away multiple times for about 2.5 minutes and I was completely lost by the end of it.
Okay, so if you wish to contact us, send us hate mail, send us praise. If you want to suggest something, we would love suggestions.
If you want to suggest a better podcast.
You can reach us at animate3pod@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And that is all for this week, I think.
You know our most popular episode is that Wallace and Gromit shorts one?
Yep.
That's insane. Like, why that?
Yeah, we weren't... I guess we cared more about this podcast.
Not even that
then.
Yellow Submarine one that got picked up by, like, one of those, like, podcast amalgam websites or whatever. Did as well as that Wallace and Gromit one.
Well, to be fair...
And by the way, do as well for us as, like, 63 individual listens. 3 of which are always us, because we have to test if it works.
Hooray. Okay, that is the end of this podcast. See you next week. Goodbye.
But I like the bird.